Hello and welcome to Season of War! Tonight we're excited to talk about Age of Sigmar. My name's Jordan. I am joined by Fabian and Ridge tonight. Ridge, you've
What
seen
up?
his
What up?
face a ton, but Fabian is a recently relatively new face, though you've seen his face a few times, I'm sure. How's it going,
Yeah,
guys?
good. Seen Fabian's face doing a lot of work about the edition. He's the master, man. He's one of the most knowledgeable Sigmar guys I know. But yeah,
Yep.
I'm doing well. I'm just just chilling. Got my drink here. Put the kid down as usual, and ready to talk some more hams. What's up? What's up with you, Fabian?
Yeah, doing good. Being like pretty busy, making some videos, of course, for the channel, but so testing a lot, and just thinking. Like my brain has been like having a lot of stuff going on about everything more. So yeah, excited to speak about it with everyone.
Yeah, new edition. So much. It's just craziness. So many things to relearn, think you know, and everything's just so much different now. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yep, for sure. Just a couple of quick housekeeping things. Wanted to give shout outs to our channel partners, Warfare Minis and Baron of Dice. Obviously, they go a long way in supporting the channel, as do our channel members, who do the most in terms of making us be able to produce content and create battle reports and all that fun stuff. So thanks to everyone that helps out. And if you do want to check out and help support the channel, you get a ton of extra content through our membership, namely an extra battle report every week is the main thing, but either way, we appreciate your support and you being with us tonight, guys. I know we've obviously been diving deep into the new edition, and we'll start the conversation just kind of talking generally about the edition itself. We'll get into armies and different stuff later, but I guess now that we've gotten some games in, a fair number of games, what are your first thoughts of everything?
Who say names after you do that so we know? But I'll start it here. It's it's awesome. It's awesome. Everyone who's played, I think, can say it's been a while. We've been playing AoS 3, which was one of the best editions, I think, as well. Which it was really fun. But this is just so much. It's kind of new as well. I think is why I'm maybe a bit biased to see how amazing it is. But it's fun. That's it. It's very very reactive. Like you're doing a lot of stuff in your opponent's turn. You're denying tactics a lot more. It seems already just from playing. A lot more endless spells, a lot more just stuff going on. But I think it's going to be a couple weeks, couple months before we really can settle down and kind of see where we're at. But yeah, the tournament scene I feel like is just going to be absolutely bonkers for the first like few months. But yeah,
Fabian, what's your
Yeah, I mean,
first impressions been?
yeah, I think you said it. Like the word is probably like interactive. Like there is just so much. Every game you play, it feels kind of like playing against Korn in the previous edition, where you
yeah,
have to think about everything your opponent can do to deny your tactics. And I've played, I think, like more than 10 games, and I don't think there have been one game where I scored 5 battle tactics. Considering that my average in the previous edition was really like 4.9 or 4.95, like it's like it's really hard. There are a
yeah,
lot less options, and you have a lot of things that can counter it. Like brain is melting when you play, but like in a good way.
yeah. That's fair. Yeah. What about you, Jordan?
What
Yeah, I think similarly, obviously, all those things have been amazing. Like the interactivity has made it a lot more fun, a lot more engaging in ways too. Of like you got to be on the ball, thinking about all those things that you guys mentioned with the potential surprises your opponent can spring out. So that's obviously been great and like made the game just feel awesome and again a lot of fun. So that's all been good. I think one of the biggest um, challenges that we're all facing is like not only relearning our own armies, but like having to like rewire our brains of how we think about different units. Like, well, yeah, I
Yeah.
know. There's a ton of examples of like, hey, I know this unit should do this against this unit, and it just doesn't do that anymore. Or this, X unit does way more damage, and you're playing against it for the first time, and you're trying to, you don't really know what everything does super well because it's hard to learn everyone
Yeah,
else's army when you're doing your own.
Even just
or
like
the other way
abilities.
around. Like I have a good
Yeah.
example for it. I've played against Augurs yesterday, and Frostlord and Stormhorn. It used to be 3 up save, 5 upward. I was like, I cannot kill it. There's no way. So I ran away from it the entire game. And then at the end, when I kind of like went into it, it died pretty easily. And I was like,
Yeah.
huh? Then I should have actually went like much earlier. It was not very tanky now. It's just a 4 up save. No
Yeah.
ward.
Jordan, you said
But
that
just,
too.
yeah, like your brain is just like, no, like that thing is scary. My brain is just like, no, you have to avoid it.
Yeah,
Yep.
Jordan, you said yesterday when we played a game, a certain unit, you're just like, yeah, I've never ever been scared of that unit. Like, it's never done anything ever.
Oh, yeah.
And then it got a certain spell and it did something. And you're like, oh, wow, okay, I guess these guys are completely different now and do damage.
Yeah,
but there's so much of it.
Yeah, there's some general archetypes, like in general, cavalry's been a big one where it's like, okay, this unit never charged. It only ran around to score objectives and, battle tactics and that kind of thing, and screamed.
Yeah.
But now it's like, just like, oh, if that comes into it, it's going to kill quite a bit of stuff. And like, you just don't think about that. We've had the matchup with, what was it? Ogres and Deepkin on the channel. That was the first game we played, Zach and I, and same thing. It's like, oh, okay, well, based on kind of what I'm feeling about the edition, damage is down. All these things are really tanky in this situation. Well,
Except Iron Guts.
Yeah, well, no, these things, like, damage isn't necessarily down everywhere. There's still a lot of damage in different places. So it's like, again, it feels like the growing pains of when you first get into the game and you're just getting surprised by everything. And that can feel bad at times or be like triggering, where it's like, well, that's just, threw the whole game off because I made this silly mistake. That, again, not a mistake, but just you weren't aware, and it's hard, you can't be aware of everything. That's how you learn, is by making mistakes and figuring this stuff out. But it can be painful at times to be, especially in battle reports, learning on the fly, when you're like, oh, well, I know I'm going to get a ton of comments about this mistake.
Yes, always when we do everything. It's and obviously it's so many different armies too. So it's but everyone's, well, usually the channel members, but usually everybody knows it's a lot of armies, especially new edition. There's going to be mistakes and even just small things, the way that interactions happen now with endless spells, with terrain, like so many things change that I think it's going to take everybody a little bit to fully wrap their head around how everything works.
Yeah, I think sorry, go Fabian.
Yeah, and you have like two things. You have the mistakes of like just not knowing the rules yet, like different interaction and things, but you also have the misplays, just learning something completely new. Like, oh, I'm gonna put my like faction terrain right in front of me because it can screen. And then suddenly you're giving like super easy charges to your opponent because he can use it as a ramp to go into your units, and it's like, whoops, I lost the game in deployment.
Yeah, or spells, endless spells, same thing,
Yeah, and I think a big thing, obviously playing a lot of armies, there's pros and cons to it. I know, like Fabian, even though you've been out for a couple battle reports, you play a lot on TTS, you play a ton of different armies as well and test different things out. Ridge, we've on the channel collectively between everyone filmed, I think, 10 or 11 games now, and only one army has been repeated by anyone. So it's like, 8-9 different armies. Like it definitely is a lot. And at the start, it's tougher at the start, and there's more mistakes because of that. But I mean, good to doesn't hurt to show those things, but also like in the long term will help us helps people, whether you're playing those armies, playing against those armies, or even just watching battle reports. That's the great benefit, is it helps inform people's decisions down the road or at events, or like, okay, I've seen this and I can kind of expect it to do this, and kind of builds up that, like, not muscle memory, but kind of like, general back of your head information.
Yeah, I think most of the competitive players that watch the channel are doing it for that reason, to know what happens when you play against us in a tournament. You can kind of see what the strong units are, what they do. But kind of, I guess it depends, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just formation. Like, you get it watching a video, like 40 minutes, something like that, instead of having to play a 3 hours game. Yeah. It's just more data.
Yep.
Yes, sir. So, guys, I guess we talked about some of the things we're loving right now, and I guess some of the challenges as well. Is there anything that you guys have come across in the rules or just in the interactions of the game that you're like, okay, this is maybe not necessarily something we dislike, but it could be that, but just like, okay, this is more trouble than I expected it to be, or this is going to be harder to wrap your head around. Is there anything you found, I guess, more challenging with the new edition?
Yeah, for sure. I think the easy one is manifestations. So first, I think the rules are not written as well as they could have been. It's like they are not unique except in this scenario. It's different for this and that. Like it's gonna get some time getting used to, but even when it's done, it feels like there are some things that are a bit static manifestations, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they can do something really powerful and instant, they are usually not worth using because you're just giving free movement to your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
You can use them to fight and pile in, get an easy battle tactic like a do not waver. You can use it as a ramp for a counter charge. Like most of the time, they feel like they are not helping you. On the contrary,
Mm-hmm.
and there are also some manifestation right now that have some rules that will probably get changed because you can just move in combat and block other units. So I would say for me, the part that can be improved or that has not been written the best would be the manifestations. But at the same time, it's funny to have like 5 manifestations on the table fighting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just played Seraphon finally, and it was fun. Fun with all the other spells. I knew obviously I'm going to be doing that, and they have just so many casts. But it seems like this edition is just so much of that. I don't hate it. It's cool. Like I it's going to take a little bit to wrap your head around kind of them all being units. Like you're summoning units essentially, like a Kronspine kind of thing. But once it all kind of, I don't know for like a thing I'm not liking already. I don't know, because it seems like you want every army an army that doesn't have wizards, they're kind of already a little bit a step behind, because I feel like just having a few casts is mandatory now, because then the spells are just so impactful and so good that maybe that's not great for the Gargant players, for the Khorne players, for the Fire Slayers players, whatever. But I feel like they're going to be still strong enough to do what they need to do. But what do you think, Fabian? You seems like you got an opinion here.
I was just about to say, Khorne and Fire Slayers, they have manifestations. It's just like invocation and stuff, and the spells.
Yeah.
Sons can have manifestations through an artifact. So the only army that does not have access to them is KO. And
that's fair.
Who cares?
I guess I more mean like morbid conjuration, or like some of the ones that seem to be like super strong.
Yeah,
I guess universal ones.
In general, yeah.
And Guardians, to have access, pigeonholes you into a certain art enhancement, and then you still only have one cast. So it's not like you can
and no bonus and everything.
Yeah. So and again, we had cities and sons on the channel, and we felt that, right? Like I was summoning the Incarnate 2 or 3 times that game, and he had to deal with it, which is either putting his attacks into that instead of other stuff, which kind of just wastes his time, or he's taking damage back, and those things. So it did feel like a big advantage in that game.
But they have been trying to reduce overall like the number of wounds that you can bring back with like summoning and things like that. But manifestation, you can summon them like in an infinite number of times.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if in the future they're gonna change the rules and say, like, if it's destroyed, maybe like not banished, it cannot come back, or only once, or I don't know. But it just feels a bit going to the opposite of the design that they have, that they are reducing the number of you can bring back.
Yeah.
And manifestations are just an infinite amount of wounds that you can have on the table.
So many armies have that though too. Like look at so many of the armies still recur and still bring stuff back. Like I know that was kind of an original
it's
intention of that. But
feels like half the armies have a command point, bring back a unit, or 4-up, bring back a unit. Like
or just a allegiance ability. Yeah,
exactly. Like
Gits and Skaven.
It almost feels like the outlier is not having any way to bring back units.
Yeah,
whether it's reliable or not, but
that leads into a good one too. Is that I wonder if it's just the first first bit that we're going to see games taking long, or because there's so much reactivity and still summoning and still bringing stuff back, it's going to be the first few months. Obviously, games are going to be going 3 hours or tournaments and stuff. I'm thinking more or less. But what do you guys think about? You think in a month or two it's going to be back to being 2.5 hour games and being able to maybe finish in 2 hours, or you think it's going to be longer?
I think the game
than
is
AoS 3.
I think the game is faster. Like,
okay,
experience aside, once you're up to the same level of knowledge that we had in AoS 3, like I think games definitely feel faster.
Yeah.
And yes, you have more spell options, but again, once you're used to like, okay, these are the 6 spells. Situationally, only 2 or 3 are relevant, and I have 3 casts. Like so I don't think that will feel more linear with more experience of like, okay, not having to be like, okay, what spells should I cast this turn? You kind of just through repetition will learn that and get better at that.
The reactivity though, you don't think will like add too much?
I mean,
you don't have to wait for redeploy after moving every unit.
Yeah,
that is nice. Yeah.
And I think just so much time is saved with like
combat
pile-ins and just like being like, okay, pushing things forward, coherency, you're not stringing out units near as much anymore, so it's like all those things, in my mind, even just hero phase, I think just like the removing of heroic actions and the simplifying of a lot of hero phase stuff, that there's just generally less abilities in the hero phase than there were. Like, think of Seraphon, you used to have your spells and then 5 abilities. You now have like 1 or 2 abilities and your spells, right? Like it is less in general, it feels like. And heroic actions were always a decision where you had to think about it, right? It's not just like, it's like, okay, all 3 of these are beneficial. Which one should I do? And you take a minute. I feel like hero phases are a lot faster as well. Combat's faster.
They're not having start and all that stuff, and just being able to kind of and then your opponent does it after your hero phase. Yeah.
And what else? Less. Oh, what was I going to say? Less rerolls. So there's less like reroll ones to hit or save or whatever. So.
Yeah, they got rid of that pretty well in AoS 3, but there were still some cases of that. Yeah.
I think now games just take long because we are still learning.
Yeah.
So you're like losing a lot of time thinking for battle tactics, trying to remember your abilities. But I think once you will know, like every army I've played, like it takes a lot of time to try to remember, but then I realize I just don't have that many abilities to use.
Mm-hmm.
There are like a couple in the hero phase, a couple like in every phase, but like it's really simplified. But I know a lot of people were scared, and I mean, I guess it depends on what you think, and I think that like it will lose a lot of personality and stuff. But I still think that like every army feels very different.
Oh yeah.
And then on points, like they mostly, I mean, not perfect everywhere, but mostly what they removed is just bloat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like just take the unit of Revenants. They used to have a banner, a musician, and then an ability in the war scroll that were like all doing different things. They had a 6-inch pile-in, they had a teleport, and they had 3 all-out attack, all-out defense, but it was still used even if it was not issued, so you could not use it a second time. Like, put all of that, keep what makes the unit what it is, teleport. That's it. That's easy. And they've did it for a lot of things, so like it makes it just so much easier. Mm-hmm. Your cheat sheets were going to be a much faster thing to do.
Yeah, and generic musician for rallies, standard bearer for +1 control, like that obviously helps and makes things a lot quicker than doing that. One other thing I was going to...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I said removing the sub phases too.
Yes.
Start phase, end of phase, that times 7. Like, it was a pain. It was creating a lot of issues. Now it's going to be a lot easier. I do all my stuff. You do yours. We go back and forth. And that's
I was going to say for the disc, because we're talking about kind of things we don't love, but this is going to be something we're going to see. But you were talking about list diversity, and that's where I love playing books like Skaven, like Seraphon, that have just so many different units and so many different interactions you can kind of do. You can play a lot of different lists. I know a lot of people have been talking about it, and it seems like spamming units, like units that are really efficient, hoping that that's not going to be a huge issue. on the channel, I know we like to play. We do like to play competitive lists, but a lot of the time we will play just cool units we have. We want to try I want to try different things. We don't want to play the same lists. But that's where one thing that I am wondering is if it is going to be the first few months are going to just be tournaments of just people just
exploration.
Or just like these units that are just incredible and just like using 8 units of those. And so we'll see with that. But they might have to address something if that kind of gets out of hand. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just the meta will evolve, right? And people will react. So at the starting point, it's going to be a Wild West. And then the first couple of events, people are going to be like, okay, this stuff's rising to the top, and now we have to prepare and account for it. So there's going to be stuff that starts to shift towards it. So again, like we saw with that, just a bunch of big, thick ogre bodies on the board. It was really good. There's other armies that are doing the same thing. Brutes look really good. Other stuff like that. So you might see more stuff tech into like being anti-infantry, and even bunch of hex wraiths. There's so many units that are just seem so efficient for what they do. But I guess even the cav thing, because we've noticed in just playing it, like 10 cav seems like an amazing unit. Now they're 3 wounds from like every army. Like every army, well, not every army, but many armies have a 3 wound cav unit that's not crazy expensive. That 10 bodies now with 3-inch engagement, being 30 wounds, it just seems like so 2 damage on the charge, good. Pretty common, usually, which that's cool if it's the flavor, but it's not. You're not just spamming a bunch of units of that. But we'll see. I don't know. Yeah,
I do. That was to be expected. It's a new edition with full index. Things will not be perfect. Like since they have announced that, I'm basically not expecting the game to be fully balanced or to be like well balanced until like in 6 months from now. Like first battle score is gonna be a small one. They're gonna fix the big offenders, and then the one in 6 months is gonna be the one that probably like the game to a very nice like position. Until then, you have 2 options. Depends on like what you like and enjoy in the game. If what you just like is winning, just like spam what is strong. But
what do they do though?
Like a lot of players who just like play what they want, experiment, and just like enjoy.
But for spam, you either increase the points on that unit a bunch so that you don't spam those problem units, or you make only be able to say use 3 of one unit. But then everyone that wants to play the fucking 12 Doom Wheels can't do that anymore, and you're like, you're a shitty person.
I think classically in AoS they've gone the like increase the points on this unit, tax it, right? And that's that usually
the points work well for spam.
Yeah.
Because if you're spamming a unit, that means that like every if you increase it like 20 points and you use it 7 times, that's like a lot of points, right?
100%.
The issue is more like when you have one unit that's very strong, but that does not get spammed. Like to fix it, it's a bit harder because points are not enough. Might need to change the abilities and everything. Mm-hmm. But for spam, the easy answer is just points.
Yeah.
I do want to just loop over
a bunch.
To chat real quick and say a big thank you to Mike Fleet for gifting a Season of War channel membership, and Shankly for gifting 10 memberships. So huge thanks to both you guys.
Jesus.
Yeah, legends. And then just want to say hey to everybody in chat, and I'll loop through a couple of the comments and questions that we've seen so far.
The lack of pluses to Unbind is I love that too.
Yes.
Now it seems like casting is like, before having, say, Croak cast Unbinding anywhere on the board 4 times. +2, +3, it was insane. So now it's like even Nagash or these big guys might not unbind you because you're +2 or
I don't think I haven't seen a single +2 unbind yet. Maybe there might have been 1 or 2 have it. There's a very specialty thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some lists can have it, but
that's a good shout, Stuart Angleton.
But so Ridge, you did mention earlier that obviously no surprise that you're a big Staven and Seraphon fan. But why don't we next go through kind of the 2 or 3 favorite armies so far. Obviously it's like preliminary, and maybe just a couple notes. We're not going to go through do faction reviews or anything, but just like a couple notes of why we like them. and then maybe some of our a couple favorite units in the factions.
Yeah, sweet. Want me to start?
Yeah, kick it off.
Cool. Yeah, I'll talk for Skaven because they're obviously the greatest army of all time, and they always have been. It seems like they're pretty similar. Yeah, I've played a more. Actually, the game's coming out on this weekend?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, the Skaven one.
Is it? Okay, yeah. So I played more of a Scryer build, which obviously I want to start with the new Warp Blaster and Warp Lightning Cannon and stuff. So it seems like, yeah, those units are still very much like lottery. They can do an insane amount of damage, but you can also still just kill yourself if it shoots twice, kind of on average. But it's a dice game, so they're always fun to play. But I've been making so many different lists with more of a Molder kind of Rat Ogres with the Hell Pit. Also playing with 6 Storm Fiends because they also can be Molder as well, but more Storm Fiends with the Jezzails because they're just incredible from 24 inches. So you're probably going to see a lot of those in Skaven lists. Honestly, all of the units, like the Vermin Lords, are awesome. They all kind of have a little bit of a different role. So they're going to be fun. The Deceiver has the coolest ability ever, just to 4-up in the combat, start the combat phase, just teleport over there and just, again, just a crazy roll. So another ability that's just on a roll. But I think they're going to be mid-tier, I would say, but way more of a general's army. So if you play it a lot and you understand the mechanics, bringing back units is going to be great as well. They could claw a little higher than mid-tier, like how we used the word claw there. So yeah, I think they're going to be more of a fun. Skaven players already are the ones that you want to have fun and you're gambling. There were last edition, there were some ways you could be more efficient with all the plague stuff and the bells and everything, right? It was just insane efficiency, but overall I think it's going to be just more of a fun unit. And it's just kind of even little Doom players are insane for 80 points. They can do nuts damage, or you can just play hordes of plague monks, clan rats. The Bell and the Furnace both are decent. So yeah, I don't know if that's a little overview, but I'm still excited to play them. I'll probably play them at a few events, I would think, but I played Seraphon it's probably going to come out in a week or two last night, and I have to say it's pulling me back into the asterisms of the Seraphon, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, what units are you liking with the dinos?
With the dinos, so many of the units, because all of the Coalesce stuff is just amazing now too. Finally, I feel found a good balance between them. So I played a lot of Starborn, as you obviously know, Jordan. But I did play more of the bigger dinos because they were good for a bit too, but obviously not the Saurus Warriors, the Croxagore, now the Agrodon Lancers. I feel like they fixed the way that Lancers, the Agrodons work, so they can get their rage easier. Croxagores are just insane. The War Scrolls are just nuts. The spells are just absolutely bonkers. So being +1 natively and then being able to get extra bonuses to cast with all of the different endless spell lores now is going to be just so strong. They still have movement shenanigans. They have ways to the Chameleon or the Hunters of Haunchi are so good. Easy ways to be on the board. So I think they're going to be strong, and I really like the way they diversified everything because Saurus Guard are amazing. Saurus Warriors work now. Skinks actually are kind of one of it's not the world of the 30, 40 skinks that it used to be. Fangs, that was just the most insanity ever. The Carnosaur's sick. They did a really good job with Seraphon. So that's where I'm torn because I feel and I don't know, I haven't played a lot of other armies. I played Gits, which were fun, really fun as well. One of my other favorite armies. But I feel they did really well with those 2 books that I have read a ton now, and I've been making so many lists. It's when I'm actually torn between kind of what I want to play, they did a really good job at writing the book. So yeah, super happy with those. But I won't go into Gits. So yeah, one of you guys go, Fabian.
Fabian, what have you been playing and loving?
Yeah, so I've been actually mostly playing Skaven.
Yes.
I guess one comment yes. One comment I will make is that I'm not playing right now armies because I think they are strong or anything like that. It's way too early to say, and I'm more going always by play styles. That's like the reason why I was playing Sylvaneth. Then when I went to Khorne, Khorne happened to be strong, but that's not why I played it. It was mainly for like all the tricks. And Skaven right now I feel is the army with the most tricks. So been really enjoying it. Compared to other armies that are just more efficient. Like, yeah, it's nice to have recursion, but there are some other armies that start with like 200 wounds on the table and more damage.
Yeah.
So, like, you need everything to go perfectly and bring your units at the right time to be able to compete. So it's just harder. It really feels like playing Sylvaneth last year, where it's very rewarding, a lot of things you can do, but any mistake is like very like heavily punished. Compared to playing some other armies that are more like straightforward and just like move, charge, kill, and win.
And are just
So,
efficient at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Skaven very fun. I've been having I really enjoy it. Like the list I'm playing is very fun. Just like it's hard. The brain is again melting. The other one is Screw Boys. I mean, same thing, a lot
Nice.
of tricks. The new dirty tricks are very nice. The skill ceiling is also super high. Like the way you can use them, you will see really the difference between a good and a bad player, like when to use them, because every time you use one, it makes the next roll harder. So like knowing when to use them is going to be so important, and they have been very fun. Also a good balance between shooting and melee and mobility with some monsters, like fun balanced list.
Yeah.
And for the third one, I wish I would say 7F, but unfortunately not. Nighthaunt, their rules looked very fun,
Strong.
but I think they're almost too strong in the game I've played,
Yeah.
where it was just like a bulldozer, like just move everything. It's so fast, everything runs and charge, and you just go in your opponent's face. And unless they are also playing a very strong army, it's just like I've played one game, I've won the game top of 2.
Yeah. Did you play Blade Geists with some Hex Race or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sub-faction where you can run and charge and retreat and charge. Because run and charge means that you can redeploy and charge. So my opponent tried to do a seize the center, redeploy, counter-charged, deny the points, and then I sent everything in, and then I got the double. It was game over. Like,
Jesus. Yeah. They have just so many, like, retreat and charge, run and charge, 5 aboard, like, just already be a hero.
I was just saying, they don't even have to retreat now.
Yeah.
Teleports with some of the units.
They seem wildly
recursion
good.
like once per game. Like, yeah. Like the things like I think I'm gonna like them when they are nerfed, or like when they actually have to use their tricks to win the games. Like right now, it just feels a bit too
efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the rules seem fun.
Yeah, I saw. So we filmed the game. It hasn't come out yet with Nighthaunt, and obviously not to spoil anything. Though I did see a comment earlier from Anon. And he's excited that he can bring his black coach. And actually, in this game, Ryan brought 2 black coaches, which is exciting to see them like being more valuable than
Black coaches are insane.
They were yeah. They've always
they're good.
Yes, they're better now though, which is the thing.
Yeah.
So
I just mean like there's that guy from Greece who's obviously an incredible player at Worlds that had the 2 black coaches and was just crushing people because people don't really know what the list did, but I feel like I know.
But
I
in
what
general, on average, people weren't having that much success
using as many. Yeah.
So
fair.
that's exciting. But yeah, Nighthaunt has definitely some strong tools in there. Fabian, when you went over Cruel was quick, but were there any kind of favorite units that you liked a lot in with Cruel Boys?
I think with Cruel Boys, it's more, and if you want to play a balanced list, the MVPs right now are the Sludge Raker. Just being able to give +1 damage to a unit is good. I mean,
yeah,
I don't want to say it's good. The Monster Killers, the Warcry Warband is very nice. Like they
Monsters
are
are
very
good.
pointed right now, but the fact that they can make a unit strike last basically on a 2-up, and they can deny rampage, and some of like Now every monster, the way they have changed it for people who have not followed, like in the 4th edition, every monster has a unique rampage, and some of them are classic, like they could be just the equivalent of a roar, but a lot of them are just like their crazy ability that only them can do. It could be the 2d6 like charge over from the Stormhorn. It can be Nagash, Hand of Dust.
Yeah.
Like all of these are rampages, and turning that off is like insane. And I also invite people to go and read the little text for the monster killers for this ability, like what it says. It's actually very funny.
Okay, don't say what it is. You got to go read Monster Killer War Scroll. And I was gonna say, I feel like there's a lot of good hero monsters right now too. People are using them a lot, being able to rally and heal them, being able to, there's a lot of good ones. So units like that in Crow Boys you're gonna evolve to, if people are using them a lot, then yeah, use the things that kill monsters, right?
For sure.
Yeah, makes sense. And Fleet, this is not a Tahiti treat. It is a gin and soda with a little splash of blueberry juice. Cheers.
How posh of you. I guess then for myself, armies that I've played a bunch of different armies now on the channel. Again, 10 games, 9 different armies. Ones that like, in terms of what I've played, that like first reaction would be like, ooh, this was fun, I liked the mechanics, or this felt solid. I think the 3 that have stood out for me as like I want to play them again more than others are like Slaves, OBR, and Slanesh. Actually, I had a lot of fun with all 3 of those. I think to go through them, Slaves it feels maybe just even more like what it should be, where now that knights hit a little bit better, they hit on 3s, warriors hit on 3s, they're really like, okay, these are better than humans. They're, what I mean, they're actually like they're base troop warriors, though obviously there's like the little Dark Oath and stuff, are actually the formidable warriors that they're kind of meant to be in the lore. So that's really cool and exciting that everything's, I guess, more in line with expectations in that regard. And I think they just have such a good selection of units with different roles and skill sets. And then the game, probably in the position that it's in, is a little bit more favorable to pure combat armies, where maybe like Slaves being so one-dimensional last edition, and armies like Ironjaws being similar, could do well, but had a tougher time at times. So I think they're good. OBR, well, I think the way the RDP works now, of having just kind of like 6 abilities and trying to choose between during different phases and not having to track points, is a huge improvement for how the system works. But then units, I think the 3 units I've had the most fun with, again, Death Riders being one of those typical cavalry units that go up to 2 damage, got a big glow up, like they can actually hit now, which is really fun and exciting. They've been good. Catapults are good again, which is awesome to see. I own 3 of them, so I'm glad to see them being playable, after a couple of years of being on the shelf. And then Mordast are a lot of fun, and those are both more expensive units, but a lot of fun. Mordast, you can really juice them up with some different abilities. At one point, in conjunction with the Purple Sun, I had Mordast up to like effectively Rend 5. So stuff like that's pretty fun. And then Slanesh, actually, contrary to what the initial reaction felt like to the preview article, their Allegiance ability is awesome. Yes, there's a downside to it. And I actually had a good discussion with someone, or a couple of people earlier on our members Discord, that it's like, it's so thematic that like you're trying to restrain yourself from being too gluttonous and going for the 3 units, right? Like, so there's like a fun, like kind of thematic, balancing act there. But I think, again, you pick a unit and giving it what is it, like run and charge and exploding sixes is quite a good ability for you to pick and choose at will, right?
Yeah.
And then also I think with Slanesh for me, it's, you know, my typical play style where Ridge, you've said it before, I like to have my skirmishy shooting units and then like a couple, you know, fast, hard-hitting combat units. Like, obviously those are all good things. And I feel like those kind of builds for me with Sylvaneth kind of aren't really viable this edition. My builds for Deepkin like that aren't really viable this edition. So those armies, it's kind of like I have to relearn, whereas Slash is like, okay, I can play my old lists like with some, you know, tweaks and whatnot, but those are, that play style with that army is still intact for me. So that kind of like, I think just more naturally felt like, okay, I know what to do with this army, you know, with the pieces I have.
The range, I feel like, is the big one, right? Because Reavers are down to 12-inch shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that hurts a lot.
Yeah. Bliss Barbs lost, you know, they're +1 to wound or whatever, so they're less efficient profile, but yeah, 18-inch range still on them is a huge boost.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, so I guess those are, again, kind of our units armies we've been maybe more focused on. What else? Is there, I guess we've kind of talked about that with, you know, mentioning Ogres and Night Haunt. But in terms of maybe making some, you know, preliminary meta predictions of like what we think is going to rise to the top, are we thinking those are two of the strongest? And is there anything else that you think is?
I mean, one thing I would say is like it's nothing crazy to like. Probably everyone is going to agree, but especially now at the start of the edition, the armies that are going to do well are just the armies that are played by the good players. Like, whatever wins at the first Goli Open Tacoma in 10 days, it might not be the best army or the best list or anything like that. It will just be the best player, the quicker to learn and adapt.
And who has played it a lot, I think, who has like understands kind of how it works, how it's getting tactics, how it's playing, and yeah.
That being said, there are some things that are stronger than others. There are some builds. In terms of armies in general, I think it's hard to say, at least for me, for the experience I've had, like Ogres and Night Haunts seem pretty strong.
OBR.
Mostly because they were like very straightforward. Maybe it's the same for OBR too. But then in terms of something that's like more like slightly broken, and I don't know if it's going to survive or not, it's Lumineth. And they have some builds that are a bit silly, let's say.
The Dawn Riders?
Dawn Riders are just efficient. I think they're going to stay. But the Caligrave, you can auto-cast Manifestation in both turns. So like you don't have to roll.
Pretty good.
Actually, it's even better. You roll, and if you don't like what you get, you change it to an 8. So if you get 11, 12, you keep it. But if you get lower, you change it to an 8. So you can really like send so many manifestation. As we discussed earlier, they are very potent now. They are like just extra unit that you get for free. So that sounds really strong. And it's like for a lot of armies, it's going to be hard to just play against. Like constantly having to deal with manifestation coming your way. If you don't have a lot of wizards, you're just going to lose the trade efficiencies.
Get ready to be fighting against a lot of Purple Suns and Suffocating Gravetides, because that just
definitely one of the stronger lores out there.
And the Maelstrom, just crazy Immortals. It's going to be I agree wholeheartedly that the Endless Spell whole magic thing, if you don't have some wizards, then you should probably rethink that.
I mean, that was the first thing I learned, you know, in game one. I'm like, okay, I'll take one wizard with one spell to keep it simple for myself. And, you know, I played against Zach, and he was playing Ogres and still had 3 casts. And it's like, okay, I am just like, you know, he's getting exactly all those out, Sun out, Gravetide out, like, and it's tough. Although I did get an Incarnate out, on the flip side, it's like just having to deal with those over and over can be really challenging.
Yeah, even just having any, someone said earlier in the chat, just having any unbinds or any wizards, like you don't need to have the +1, or there's not a lot, like +1 or maybe +2 is like rare. Just having any wizards, just being able to stop that, because it's still 2d6, which is a very random roll. Someone can roll a 6 or a 7 to get their manifestation out. You can roll an 8 or a 9. So it's like, just, any wizards.
I've said it before, but I really feel like 3 casts is like the soft minimum for me. Like sometimes maybe I'll go 2 in some lists, but like 3 feels like, okay, this is like, I am competent with 3 casts here where I can get manifestations out, I can get my spells off, and then have enough unbinds, enough counterplay, and that kind of thing. Did you guys?
The issue is like it's hard for list building, because before you used to like be able to maybe do double battle rage or command entourage and things like that, and have like 5-6 heroes. Now, like in most armies, you have 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So if they are not a wizard, or if you don't have like a level 2 wizard, it's just hard to get them there. It's really like, one example I guess I can be like in Sylvaneth, kind of like feels like to be able to play your army, you have to play Belfanos, for instance. So that's like one less slot for wizards.
Yes.
Thankfully, the other auto-include is also the Lady of Light with a wizard. But like, there are some armies where like there is like that hero that you really want. It's not a wizard. And now you're very limited in slots in what you have left.
When I played Slaves, the same thing with Abraxia, right? It's like, she's a great hero, but it's like her versus Bellicor, well, points aside and what they do aside, it's like, well, Bellicor's just a 2-cast wizard, so he brings innately so much more value because of that. So definitely I have found, and sounds like Fabian, you're the same way, where it's like those characters that are combat pieces or whatever they are, and a wizard are the big ones, where it's like Keeper of Secrets, or like that, like
Vermin Lord,
again, Bellicor being over Abraxia, like those kind of things. We will see the units that those heroes that aren't wizards, I think, less than before,
unless they do something insanely good.
The points, I guess, like as a small parenthesis, like we are at the start of the edition, some things don't feel like they are pointed correctly, and I mean that was to be expected. And I think for me, some of the big monster heroes feel a bit too high compared to, for instance, cavalry, that feel like very aggressively pointed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting that it might change in the future. Like right now, it feels like in most lists you want maybe like one big monster, but the rest is more like small, efficient units, cavalry, infantry. So something that I hope is going to change a bit in the future, because it's nice to have big monsters on the table.
It's fun, I agree. There are a couple questions, Jordan. I don't know if you want to. So the Ross asks, are you finding that the skill expression is higher or the same as last edition? I would think it would be a little higher.
I think it's higher.
Just more interactions, more ways to deny tactics. There seems to be a lot of flavor, although a lot of the flavor was mainstreamed, which is kind of nice, into your just 4 battle formations now, like your sub-factions. It seems it's kind of... just more mainstream. You kind of choose your path you're kind of going on, and then getting go ahead. Sorry,
on that note, the sub-factions, going back to our earlier point of talking about like maybe things we didn't love, that has to be one for me of the battle formation abilities, or whatever it's called, like the sub-factions. Is I've still feels like there are some armies that just have better ones. And it feels like a lot of the armies that I like, it's like they're almost irrelevant. And I still don't... So that's disappointing a little bit. Again, maybe that gets fixed when we get full battle tomes, or they're a little more flavorful and whatnot. But I still feel like I want a world in which I can take the same list and any of those 4 factions are viable, and I'm not shoehorned into one based on the models I'm taking, right? Or there's one that's better than the others, so I'm shoehorned into taking those models, right? It's like...
That's a super uncommon opinion. I think it feels like, especially not just from the lore sake, but like if you're playing the skink stuff, you're going to be using this. If you're playing the Saurus stuff, you're going to get this.
I don't mind I don't mind them benefiting one style of unit over another. I think that's fine. Of like, hey, generically, what, like, well, I don't know, +2 move, and +2 move is more beneficial for this style of unit, so you're to take more of that style of unit in an army. But not so restrictive of like, hey, this one is for your catapults if you take 3 catapults in OBR. This one is for your 3 units of cavalry. You know what I mean? Like,
make it more universal.
Yeah, where it's like, it doesn't incentivize doubling down on one specific unit type. I guess maybe like on the counterplay, like one of the ones I love in OBR is that, okay, like +1 to cast for your little wizards. Like, I think that's a pretty good example of a generic one that like doesn't overly influence your build.
Yeah.
Like,
I wish there was more artifacts, and I wish they had six command traits and 6 artifacts. Just because some of them it seems like it's a lot, but some of them I found that are just like, these 3 just don't work with any general that I want.
Yep.
So it's like, I feel like, I don't know if that's something.
100% agree.
Probably in the battle tomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
maybe.
like what you have to think.
Yeah, that's.
But to get back to the skill expression, I think rather than being higher, I think it's going to be different. Where in previous edition, it was a lot about having the knowledge of all the little details and knowing exactly in which subphase things were happening, and the little details of piling in, and very like the minutia and going more into the micro and details
was the worst.
In 4th edition, it's more like about the strategy at a higher level, knowing where to position your units and taking the good decisions in what command using. So it feels more like a general.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're the general of your army and you have to position it better to like win the battle, rather than like you won because you knew the little rules a bit better than your opponent.
Yeah.
So it's higher for something, it's lower for some others. It's also nice because it's going to probably also bring the player at least a bit closer for some time. Like at the end of last edition, players who had been playing for a long time and had a lot of knowledge had a giant advantage compared to like newer players. Now the armies are simpler to learn. There are less abilities on war scrolls, so like all that knowledge is going to be easier to get, and the difference will be mostly done at the decisions on the table. So
I would
less
agree
about
with that.
forgetting stuff, more about just playing better.
Yeah, cool. Stuart asks, yes, you can recast manifestations the same turn they are banished now. Yes, definitely can.
And Stuart also, here's what I saw. Stuart replied, but do manifestations count as enemy units for deep striking reserves? And yes, moving ones do. Static ones do not, and fashion terrain does not similarly. So that's another like, again, endless spells are a big thing to wrap your head around and get used to, and like the difference of like static versus moving ones is huge. Like, be able to zone stuff out with moving ones is amazing, but there's a big, as Fabian commented earlier on, like the static ones can be a huge liability in some ways of like giving your opponent a charge target or a free pilot and stuff like that. Like, you
gotta always be thinking that has almost happened to me multiple times already. Mm-hmm. Always be thinking they're going to counter spell with an endless spell to screw your deep strike. So that is, you need to be always thinking about that.
Or the opposite, like faction terrain. Like for instance, when you play Seraphon, if you put your faction terrain too much in the front, like charging, you can just make it easier for your opponent just to charge. Like deep strike comes outside of 9 of your units, but he's like within 3 or 4 of the terrain, and just like super easy to charge. And now with the 3-inch range, it's very easy to get into your units.
Yep. What else?
Opie Mac. You got to read that one. That's good. That one's for you, Jordan.
Yeah.
Throw them in the.
Shoutouts, Opie, for the super chat. Thank you. He says, I just purchased 10,000 points of Sylvaneth. Help me.
Tell him.
Yeah.
The fun fact is, I know who you bought them from.
Yeah. So Sylvaneth is an interesting conundrum because, as I said earlier, for me, at least, it's both the army has changed so much. So it's like relearning how it operates. It's funny enough, my first list that I played in Sylvaneth was almost identical to my LVO list, like Lady Vines, Belthanos, 6 Kurnoth bows, 6 Kurnoth swords, I think, and then like some other skirmishy units. And the army is just different now, and you can't rely on the things that made the army good before, which is like the strike and fade, the teleporting and charging. So those biggest tools that we had, while they're still there, they are not what they were. So you're not relying on those as being the main things you're building around and playing around. So it feels like you're just like, for me, having played a ton of Sylvaneth this year, it feels like I'm at like square one of like, okay, how do I play this army? I know I can see what war scrolls are, feel good or not, but now we just try to get reps in and feel how the army plays because it doesn't do what it did before.
There's still going to be ways to play it. So I'm making the joke of that. I hope I'm not deterring Opie that you bought that and you're like Sylvaneth. It's funny because Jordan, just what you were saying about it. Yeah, how it plays so much different, and it's not the whole strike and fading, but there's definitely going to be ways to play it. And
there's some great strengths. Like all of the units of Kurnoth are good. The 6 Kurnoth bows counter shooting 10 times a game is amazing. Dryads are still -1 hit and wound is incredible. Grossman archers are now a good skirmishy shooting unit that's fast, so they're really good for at lots of different things. So definitely lots of.
I've played one list. I've played one game as well, and with a list very similar to yours, Jordan. The difference was instead of having Kurnoth with sword of size like the melee ones, I had bugs because again, like we don't really have reliable way to get in. So basically, the army was a castle with the Lady of Vines and some bows. Really able to shoot, like bows are really good right now at like doing that. And then you had the bugs and Belfanos more like going on the side. So they don't strike and fade, but they go and more they attack the isolated units. And like it works okay, like when you have all that, Belfanos helps to have another white wood on the table. The Lady of Vines is also white wood. It's like it was fine. It played just differently.
Yep.
But for me, my main issue with it is more like I don't see too many builds being viable because of the way the battle traits are and the fact that Belthanos and Lady of Vines are almost auto-include. But definitely that list seemed fine. Like
I agree.
It was okay to play. And Belthanos Rampage is extremely fun. It's a bit like the Deceiver, where you can hop on behind the unit. Like you
on
pick
4
the
up, or is it a roll?
I think it's a 3-up.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
You cannot go towards another unit, it's the same one, but you can go behind it.
So it's like easier to get on objectives and
kill a hero.
Or kill heroes that are behind. Like it seemed really fun. They still give some like good like run and charge and
cool.
Yeah. So
it's just I don't know if I would be my main army for a year because as of now it sounds that there would be a bit less builds.
Yeah. But I mean, I love my current, like that list for me is one of my favorites. I love Lady of Vines. I have a conversion for it that's super Kurnoth themed, fits in with Belthanos and all the Kurnoth. So like, I love that list. I'm definitely going to play that kind of build more. But yeah, it's just like that. I agree, Fabian. That felt really solid to me. Now it's just like figuring out, okay, it does play different and you got to kind of adapt and figure it out. But yeah, I guess last points is start with Lady of Vines and Belthanos and go from and 6 Kurnoth bows and then go from there.
Yeah, one thing I would say also is that both Jordan and I are like we played Sylvaneth a lot. And when you've played an army that much, when it changes, it's harder for you compared to someone jumping in the army with like fresh new perspective and might be like, oh, but actually like it plays very well this way and I really like it. And just like, oh, I didn't think about it because it's just so different to what I was used to play. Like
it's a great point.
I've seen that for a lot, especially like with the faction focus and now the indexes.
Yeah.
Like almost everyone where it's their army, they're like, oh no, it's so bad now.
They've
And
all
like there's
changed.
some people,
Yeah.
oh, that
Yeah.
looks so good. I'm so excited to play it. So yeah, probably just a change. And
Tons of change. Everything's changed.
as much as I like to be like a bit thinking that I'm more neutral and objective, I'm probably not when it's an army that I've played so much. So maybe it's fine. I don't know.
Yeah. Other questions? There's we're obviously can't dive into every faction tonight. I can't, Martinez. I can't say I have any thoughts on Zinj. I haven't dove into that book at all. I just played against it with Jean-Francois.
I guess one thing that we didn't talk about, and people will be upset if I don't, is Korn. Oops, forgot about that. I did not mention it at all. One of the reasons that this is an army that changed a lot in identity.
Yeah,
like
Bloodthirsters
really
actually
fun.
kill
It
stuff.
still looks powerful and everything. It's just like the reason why I was playing it is not in the book anymore. It was all the movement tricks with the prayers, like all of that is gone.
Because you're not a true Corn player, that's why, Fabian. You're playing it as a blue deck control guy.
Absolutely. So
now it does what it should.
But yeah, now it's more like it's bashy. Like the way you use Motherlust now is probably what it was supposed to be or intended to be, where you use it to get in combat to fight and not to break units because of the timing that has changed. And it sounds like, for me, for instance, that's going to be my fun army. When I want to have fun, I go to a small RTT. I don't really care. I'm going to bring like Boombuster and Scarbrand and just like go and like smash stuff. And that sounds hilarious. And there will still be some tricks because you can bring back a Bloodthirster, which is like cool. But yeah, I think Korn sounds really fun. It's just a lot less techy. It's not.
Have they been on?
We
haven't played them.
I played a game with them and had fun with them against Mark and a Soulbite. It was a really good game.
Nice,
but not out yet.
Cool.
It hasn't come out yet.
I was going to say, if no one has, I'll play them next week because that does. Korn sounds to be very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Assistant ref IDK. Just to touch on it quick, I think exactly what Fabian said. It's an army that I played a ton, and it has just changed. My 30 thralls regenerating, like that build. You don't have the recursion. You can't reinforce as much, so they're not as reliable and I guess stout in terms of the damage and the hits they can take. And also thralls just aren't as good as they were before. I feel like they've kind of got hurt with the transition. So, and Reavers coming down in range, like they are still a good unit. It's not to say they aren't, but it's just that army, fundamentally how I was playing that army for the past 2 years is not the same. So it's like, the first thing a lot of people are looking at is like, okay, well, we're going back to AoS 2 and just spamming eels because they're efficient, they're good cavalry, and that's like the best way to trade above your weight right now. Volturnos is good, so that's that. Sharks feel, probably solid, but a little pricey maybe. Turtle, same thing, and just feels expensive for what, at least in my first game, what I got out of him. But I think one thing that's going to be great is I think both Eidolons are viable, with the Eidolon of the Sea being of particular, strength, being a 2-cast wizard, and he has can't remember, some innate pluses or some benefit to his casting, as he always has. So 2 good casts with him will be very solid.
Yeah, that seems, and it's cool to have those units that you don't often see as much. That's the thing I love about new editions, and that's even with Skaven. It's like you get to the refresh of some of these units, like with Seraphon, like the Agrodons being even better, and Croxbore being amazing. A lot of these units that I have on my shelf from 2 years ago, I'm like, if it's my favorite faction, I never sell stuff because I actually like collecting and painting it. So it's always nice to be able to okay, oh sweet, this guy's good again. Nice, I'm gonna pull up my converted this guy, and he's cool. Mm-hmm. So that's always fun. Although one thing we didn't mention is the ally thing, which is something that I was like, when it happened, when I heard, I was just like, oh god, because everyone knows if they watch the channel that Ridge loves a good ally. So now not being able to kind of use those in your armies, use them synergize with different units, was kind of a butt hurt me a little bit. But I don't know.
Yeah,
it's I guess not a huge deal, but
no,
just small thing that I didn't love.
And again, it feels like the intent there was to make sure armies reflect the lore a little bit more, not just Aether Wings and Deepkin because they were good and they blocked your shots, like stuff like that. So pros and cons, obviously, from a gaming perspective, not as much flexibility, but
endpoints, because it's hard to point something if it's going to be going into a different army. I think maybe even the bigger one, which I understand, but yeah. Yep.
Shout outs to G Well for the super chat. Asked about odors. Now we've touched on them a bunch. I'm not an expert. I think from what I've played against them, as we saw on the channel with Zach, is they just are efficient. They hit. They're a little faster. They can run and charge, and they hit hard and have wounds.
Like I've watched and played a few games against ogres. Mr. Carson himself.
I was going to say, was it Carson?
One of the best, one of the better ogres players in North America. They look really solid. They look also very fun. They have a good mobility. He as a player plays usually more foot ogres with like one Frost Lord, and that seems like it's working very well. The Frost Lord can be a priest, can give himself a charge, very independent piece that can really mess with your backline. And then you have just very efficient troops with a lot of wounds, a lot of damage, and some very good wizards with good spells. And the terrain, the Moppet is insane. That thing in my game today probably did like 40 mortals.
Oh my gosh.
It's doing basically 3d3 mortals every hero phase within 18. It's like to 3 units. And we were fighting in the middle, so I could not spare units to go and try to kill it. So it just kept doing mortals and mortals and mortals. It's like, oh my god, that's so much.
Yeah. The wound density, I will say too, just a side note, just in general, is amazing because a lot of units now wound on 4s or hit on 4s. So having just more wounds is you're more likely, compared to just having a better armor save, they're more likely to miss you than you need to make a better armor save. But armies like slaves and stuff that have better armor saves also still a good thing. But yeah, wound density in general seems to be pretty strong.
Yep. I guess just a couple final questions. Tim asks, OBR Archive versus Harbingers with more dast. I'm all on the Harbinger train. I think 3d6 charge is so good, especially talked about denying tactics, counter charging, like that kind of stuff. 3d6 is incredible for the things that have it. Starbrand. So it's hard to ignore the potential there, I think.
Mark, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're probably not going to see Seraphon without a Croak or a Slide. You're still going to see one of those guys in your list, but you will see a lot more Agrodons and Croxagore and stuff like that. Not just all the usual stuff that did all the mortals and all that annoying shit. And what's up, Bart?
Is a very good support piece. Just like being able to look back units.
Yeah.
I mean,
the 4-up bring back unit is 4-up, but that's great ability. And Croak is just not wildly pointed. I shouldn't say that because he's been just undercosted for his entire life cycle. But it's a good hefty chunk of points that Croak is more than him, and now he only has 3 casts. He's not 4 anymore. The mortals are nice, but when you're casting all these manifestations, I think this Slan's 280, and I think Croak's 480 or something similar to that. Like I think it's just under 200 points that the Croak is more than the Slan. So is that almost 200 points worth the 2-up D3 mortals to 3 units when you're going to be doing Sun, Gravetide, Run and Charge? Like there's a lot of other good spells they have. I don't know. He also has a 4-up ward now, so it's like, shooting him up into the middle with a bunch of guard is probably still going to be a really good thing. I'm going to eventually try it, but I did.
But again, points will change. It's more like if you like the war scroll, eventually you're going to be priced correctly. So maybe right now it's a bit overpriced, but if the war scroll is good, it's gonna eventually see play.
Yeah.
But again, as we discussed earlier, it's hard to play armies without wizards.
Yeah.
Because of the benefits that you have to bringing some.
Yeah.
And when you play Seraphon, the Slan is your best wizard, so it's harder to bring one.
3 board-wide unbinds is still just, it's insane. It's so good. I'm so happy they kept that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I guess that's a note on that too. I know that's something that Vince Venturella was saying a lot. He was a bit afraid because he likes to play without wizards. It definitely
Me
is
too.
less optimal to play without wizards.
Yes.
100%.
That's an unfortunate reality right now because the manifestations are 3. You just you get so much benefit out of them.
Yep.
Even if you don't have a good spell, just to banish.
Yeah. I guess if you have only one wizard, if he has a bonus to cast, that's where the incarnate is a good option.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna be manifestation on the other side, so you yourself having the incarnate will be good. If you have more wizards, I still think that the other are better. Like it's not like the incarnate is overpowered, it's the best play. But if you have a very specific scenario where you have bonus to cast, but like only one wizard, like go for it.
Or an ability like just a Gracier with a 3d6 take 2 highest. That's you take him, just him, and a Kron Spine. That's solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely felt that again. Like said earlier, minimum 3 casts in a lot of my lists when I'm building. It's like even that time I ran Abraxia, it's like I still took a Sorcerer Lord and a Gaunt Summoner just because the Gaunt Summoner was 2 cast. So
yeah,
gotta have it.
I hate that with the Vermin Lords. I'm like, the Warp Seer is like my least favorite. Yes, or whatever the pluses to movement with the Claw Steps, but I just wish all of the Vermin Lords had 2 casts. Like, why did they just do that? Come on.
Hey, True Lord Ancient.
Dice to charge.
We've been struggling with this a long time.
Yeah, his spell is actually really good too. The Warp Seer. Yeah. Yep.
And
yeah,
the
guys.
Rampage for strike last.
Yep.
The Warp Seer is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's not my favorite.
No.
Obviously touched on a lot of stuff where, as we said, we'll have more content in the future that's maybe diving around specific armies and whatnot, so we're not going to go through them all and dive into everything. Just kind of wanted to touch on a lot of our favorites, the things we're excited about, the things we've seen and experienced ourselves.
There's lots of good content with that too. Like check out obviously Honest Wargamer. Rob's going to do full reviews of all that, so he's amazing with checking all that stuff out.
Yep. Vince, you mentioned AoS Coach. Yeah, there's a lot of great creators out there as well. So go support them, go watch their stuff. Guys,
Mini?
Yep, yes. Jordan over at Warpfire. Yep. Put a great streaming video yesterday. So
yeah, that was great. Yep. Jordan's the best.
Yeah. So any final notes, parting words?
Yeah, question is when is I saw Bart was in chat basically when he's seeing us soon. So I'll be at Nova, and I guess the question will be for everyone, like, when is your next big tournament? Like, what's your calendar looking like?
I actually don't. We're probably going to do a local one, I would think, will be my first one. But I can't. I'm not going to Nova, which I know is in, September? So I actually don't even know. It'll be something to hear.
Yeah. I know, it'll be more local events. Our buddy Josh, who's been on the channel a bunch, is running a GT next month. We got, a league starting locally in a couple weeks, and then some RTTs will be picking up over the next couple weeks, I'm sure. But for me, big events, I don't know. At the end of the year or November, I know I'll be down in Atlanta, and I'll see you there, Fabian.
Championships.
Yeah, for the World Champs.
The boys, I guess, but I will. I know I think it's a different weekend, but I'll definitely be at that.
Yeah, hopefully I can do both.
North American Masters in October.
Yes, we will be in the North American Masters teams, but that's not really a public event. But
yeah, but like it's a big,
see us there.
Like it's a very competitive one.
Yeah, yeah. Planning to attend. I don't know. We'll see what else comes up, I guess. Nova would be fun, but no plans.
Yeah, I wish.
I'll be there.
Yep. All right,
You
guys.
take my baby, and I'll come to Nova.
Well, with that, I think we can wrap things up. I had a good, obvious discussion, kind of over a lot of things revolving around the new edition and kind of our first takes and experiences with it. So hope you guys got some good information here and got some value out of it. But just want to say, Ridge, Fabian, thank you guys for joining tonight. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks to everybody who threw over some super chats or whatchamacallit, gifted
Just
memberships as well,
general.
and as well as the comments and everything. So thank you a ton. We always appreciate the engagement. So makes it all fun for us. And I guess without further ado, we'll see you all soon in another video. Have a good night.
Bye.